Hello and welcome to On This Day from the Anfield Wrap. I'm Dan Austin, this is Josh Sexton, and we're sat on the steps of St George's Hall to talk about the anniversary of a game from 10 years ago. Can't believe it's 10 years since Liverpool beat Manchester United 4-1 at Old Trafford. And I watched the game on the telly. Josh, you went, but it's probably one of Liverpool's best ever matches in the Premier League, isn't it?
It's absolutely right up there, yeah. It's also one of Liverpool's sort of real crunch matches in the title race, and it feels like they've had a few in the title race which they've obviously failed in. You think about City in 2014 as well, but this was one of them ties where going into it sort of felt a bit like all or nothing for Liverpool. They really needed to win, and it was almost like not a typical Rafa Benitez performance in that Liverpool absolutely blew Man United away, and you maybe wouldn't expect that of a Rafa Benitez side so much, but it was exactly the sort of result that Rafa Benitez can get, which really galvanises the club and their support.
I think no one would have ever really seen it coming though in advance, because Liverpool going into the game are 7 points behind, they're 4 points behind at the end of the game, and the build up to it comes off the back of the Real Madrid European tie first and foremost, so it's a really tough week for Liverpool. And then in the warm-ups, Sami Hyypiä ends up having to come in because Alvaro Arbeloa gets himself a little injury, and it all just feels a bit chaotic and like it's not set up for Liverpool. And then Cristiano Ronaldo scores a penalty, and he's probably the best player in the division at this stage, and it just feels like one of them where, okay, this is the day that it dies, really. This is the end of the line. And then Liverpool just produced this performance afterwards where, well, it all starts from Fernando Torres giving Nemanja Vidic a bit of grief for the first of many times. This was kind of like the first one where he really gave him a proper seeing to, and Vidic eventually gets the red card, and it just ends up perfect. You know, that Dossena goal at the end is so fucking funny.
Second in a week,
I know, but like the Madrid one is like, you know, it's technically quite well worked.
Yeah.
Mascherano breaks down the right. This is just a punt up the pitch from Pepe Reina. And Dossena is just lobbing probably one of the best goalkeepers the Prem's ever seen in Van der Sar, who just stands and watches it go over his head and go in. It's a mad goal. It's just a mad game from start to finish.
It felt like one of them games where, like, you know, the Liverpool taking the piss song. It felt like one of them games where it was sort of made for that. It was like Liverpool had put in a really good performance, scored a couple of goals, but then at that point it was like we could all go home laughing. And I remember the away end after the game were obviously kept in as happens at Old Trafford, and they were just doing the Torres bounce for the whole game, just over and over. And it was really one of them days that you properly enjoy as a Liverpool fan. I was actually sat in the United end that day, which was a controversial one. I was there with my stepdad, who was a season ticket holder for United, and I was getting texts from my mum beforehand like, oh, you need to sit on your hands and stuff like that. And when I can't remember who it was, Gerrard the penalty, the second goal.
No, that's the equaliser.
So it's the Torres one's the second goal then.
Oh no, sorry, you're right. Torres goes first.
And but I'd like physically stood up when the goal went in, and I was sort of like looking around, a few angry faces. I was like, just put myself back down here, don't let Mike Simon get the better of me. But like when I got back into the car with my stepdad after, I was just like, that was alright, wasn't it?
the Gerrard pen is still iconic though, isn't it, because of the celebration afterwards. That was like it's a real fuck you moment, isn't it, again, because we've been 1-0 down, because they're ahead in the title race. He scores that goal and gives the camera the big snog, basically, gives it a proper neck.
I think it's because it's Steven Gerrard as well. He's someone who's sort of always been hated by like most opposition fans, to be honest, but like it seems like particularly United fans around that time were really mocking Liverpool for what happened with Gerrard handing his transfer request and everything a few years before. So it was a proper fuck you moment, but it wasn't just sort of a fuck you as in like, oh, like Liverpool are back in the title race sort of thing. It was a proper like, have a bit of that, you pricks.
What always strikes me looking back at games from this period, like the good ones, and this one is probably the best of them all, is going through the lineup, because obviously we knew we were a great team at the time, but you remember the way everyone constantly referred to Liverpool as a two-man team, and then you run through this side here where Xabi Alonso's missing through injury, Sami Hyypiä ends up having to come in for Arbeloa, who's missing through injury, and Liverpool have still got a team that's got Pepe Reina in it, Mascherano in it, Hyypiä, Carragher, loads and loads of really good players, Daniel Agger as well, and it just staggers me that anyone, even like people who knew a modicum about football, ever refer to that Liverpool side as a two-man team, because pretty much to a man they were brilliant. And you only have to look at the careers that they either had before Liverpool or after Liverpool to see how brilliant every single one of them players was.
I think it's just one of them of like living in the moment, isn't it? You probably get it a bit with this current team as well, is that you probably don't rate the players as much when you're sort of seeing them play, and then maybe when you go through the bad times, which you did for a few years after that season, is when you really start to realise like how lucky you had it. So at that time, Torres and Gerrard would have obviously been our two best players, so that was why they maybe got called a two-man team, but everyone else around them was so capable. Some of the names you've reeled off there, and you think about it with this team as well, people might look at, you know, Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah as being two of the sort of standout players in Liverpool's team, but there's loads of lads around him who've got loads about them as well.
The Aurelio goal as well, we have to talk about that one specifically because it's so brilliant. It comes after Vidic gets himself sent off. It's directly from the free kick that he gives away there. And I remember watching it and we're already ahead and just not really expecting very much, and it felt like everyone on the pitch didn't really expect much because the wall barely moves, Van der Sar doesn't dive for it, and just suddenly it's the perfect free kick. It's right in the corner, it's got exactly the right pace on it. I think Gerrard stood over it with him as well, and you're probably not even necessarily thinking Aurelio's going to take it, and then he does that one. And again, that's a brilliant footballer that in the pantheon of Liverpool players, partly because of the injuries and everything, but it's vastly underrated, I think, by most people.
It's a proper Aurelio goal, isn't it, or what came to be known as a sort of Aurelio goal, the way he's properly on his instep of his left foot, like really swinging it in. And yeah, like you say, he's probably not sort of rated among Liverpool's best left backs because of the longevity thing. People talk about John Reminisce, but I think Fabio Aurelio had much more talent than John Reminisce. Much better footballer. So he's probably the last one before Andy Robertson, who you're looking at and saying was a sort of truly great Liverpool left back, and not in terms of what he could do for Liverpool, unfortunately, like you say, because of the injuries. But he was a properly talented footballer, and that was that was the mark of someone who had that sort of talent about him.
Do you think it's your favourite win at Old Trafford?
I'd say that it's up there with 13-14. What I liked about 13-14 was that it was the whole David Moyes thing. It was a real sign of how bad they were. I suppose the problem with the 09 one is that we don't go on to win the league, so it almost doesn't count, even though it's such a fantastic day and everyone has such a nice time. The 13-14 one meant a bit more even now because of how it was sort of the end of an era for Man United. It was they just lost Ferguson. They got this manager who Ferguson had recommended, and he was absolutely awful, and it felt like that was the point in which Liverpool truly overtook Manchester United as a force again.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because I think the 08-09 one just felt like, in combination with the European campaign that season, it just felt like we're boss. You know, we'd scored 4 against Real Madrid in a week, and it just felt like this statement of we're a really, really good football team. And even though it goes sour after that season and Benitez only has one campaign left, even though we didn't win the league in 08-09, it felt to me like those victories, and that one at Old Trafford in particular, were a statement. I felt a belief in Liverpool that we probably just hadn't really seen before, that Liverpool would have come in force and were about to stay there. Obviously it didn't turn out that way, but we'd had them victories, hadn't we, in the early 2000s there, where Murphy just kept scoring goals, and then there was the gap in between where we didn't really get anything, and that one felt like we were kind of reasserting ourselves, and it's a shame that it then took until 13-14 to get another one, and we haven't had one since.
Well, this is the thing, at that time in sort of any ground, I think it was 2004 the last time we beat United in the league before that, so it properly was a sort of statement performance, and one you look back on. And I keep comparing it to the current team now, but it's hard not to, because it is, like you say, it's the last Liverpool team that you sort of looked at as proper, like truly serious title challengers. The 13-14 one is we almost just get swept up in this sort of this massive winning streak, which becomes massively exciting and almost, cements some of them players in history. But a lot of them players in the 08-09 season and Rafa Benitez are cemented in history because they're some of the greatest players that we've ever seen.
The 08-09 team was full of really, really good footballers, whereas the 13-14 one, to have got as far as they did, with a few dogs basically in the starting 11 on a regular basis, was much less expected, I think. But that's probably about all we've got time for anyway for this edition of On This Day. I fancy getting out of the wind, which is making me feel like we're in a sort of weird 80s music video.
It's not helping the elements.
It's not great. But thanks very much for watching. Make sure to press subscribe and press the notification bell as well, so that you don't miss any of the videos. And let us know in the comments if this was your favourite Liverpool win at Old Trafford, or if you've got a different memory, give us a shout as well. But for now, thanks for watching. All the best.